Life.
My life. I'm just plucking along. And this came up at a perfect time because it was a really screwball winter and a lot of stuff. And a lot of that's behind me now. And so I've declared going forward that this year is the clean up, clean out, reset year. So when this came up, I was like, well, how delightful.
It's delightful. Oh, well, I'm so glad. And what are you resetting? Are you resetting your house, your business, your what?
Everything. My house is still under construction. Is this still being recorded? Don't tell everybody. No, I'm teasing.
No.
Um finish up our house. Just I wasn't in the field through the 2 years of COVID. I didn't do any
Mhm.
actual construction. I just did design work for a variety of reasons, health and clients just all put things on hold. And coming back out of that was really weird because I lost some of my subs to retirement. I lost some of them to just pure exhaustion. Everybody's shorthanded in my industry. So it was a reset and just it's been, I don't know how it's been for other people, but after getting that quiet during COVID, when the whole
Yeah,
world got quiet, it's been really hard to like refire some of these things, you
yeah, for
know,
sure.
to just kind of go, yeah, I'm just gonna huff and puff that hard, you know. Um, so it's kind of felt like rebuilding my company a little bit. And then I'm in the middle of starting a second subsidiary company. And
Okay.
so that's on my plate as well. So I want to clear the deck so I can make some room for that.
Yeah. Well, but I will tell you, I think that that's kind of a precious gift is to be able to look at your life and go, okay, let me look at it with some sanity.
What did someone say to me recently? Relief is an underappreciated emotion.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
said, yeah.
yeah. I think it's great. I think it's great. Well, Karen K, you're up. You were worried you wouldn't be here, but you're here.
I'm
Yay!
here.
You're here. It's so
I'm
good.
here.
It's so
And
good.
we're waiting for three other people.
Yes, I'm going to let them come in, but if they're not, we'll just keep going without them.
And I'm
Uh,
gonna at some point keep eating my leftover breakfast here, so I'm gonna go. I'll just off my camera, but no, I'm listening.
you are just fine, but I'm going to be greedy with you because I never get you on my own. I never you don't even live that far from me.
I know. I drive by and I wave at you often.
You oh good. Do you I think you remember Alice Berry.
Oh yeah. Are
Yeah,
you in
so
touch with, are you in touch with her?
yeah, they just built a new home. They just have a new home now. They're out
Where?
in Mendota. But anyway, every time she drives, and so does Kathy Paper, who was in your era too.
Yeah.
Yes, the people just go, look, I'll just honk when I go past your
I bet your
house.
neighbors love it. Everybody's
Oh, you know
saying,
what? They kind of do that. They're like,
well, I'll
oh,
start now. I'll start honking now.
yes, just honk. And the dog is like, what? Who? Yes, yes. So yeah, just honk when you go by.
Please,
And then
please
and
tell Alice, and Paper. What is her first name? I just spelled
Kathy,
Kathy.
yeah.
That's right. I was gonna say Nancy, and I knew that wasn't right. Please
And they
tell both
both
of
just
them.
moved recently. Yeah.
What's that?
They both just moved
Well, tell
recently.
them both I say hello.
Oh yeah.
Alice kind of disconnected from a lot of folks, and I haven't seen her in a long, long time.
Yeah.
So,
Well, she misses everyone. She
well,
misses everyone.
tell her if it ever comes up, I would love to hear from her.
Yeah, yeah, I will.
Yeah.
Well, I am gonna I am gonna do a summer theme again this year. So
Oh,
we
cool.
do have a summer
Yay!
theme party. So I'll not only am I gonna do a summer theme, but I'll do a summer theme party. So
There you go.
maybe we can get you all connected. And
Oh.
I put an Easter egg clue into the summer theme for today's thing that will make Sandy Cleland go out of her mind. But I won't tell you what the theme is. But it may be. Now, Sandy, do you know Margaret? Oh, you got to come off mute. We don't. We. Yep. Hold on. Do you know Margaret?
Margaret, you look familiar, but I
Yeah,
don't
I was gonna
think I
say
know you.
your name is familiar, and so is your face. I just couldn't say when,
Yeah.
but yeah.
So you're both kind of in this hood.
Okay.
Um, so Margaret
Maybe
is
that's it.
also going to be a honker when she drives by. So if you drive by my house and someone's honking, it could be Margaret.
Okay.
Or it could be you.
Yeah, I live over at 51st and Sheridan, so I'm kind of in the hood.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. And I'm at 58th and Queen.
Oh,
So you guys are not that far.
We're all
Sandy,
neighbors.
Sandy is a realtor that specializes in this area.
I bet that's how I know your name.
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe.
I mean, besides this, I suspect that's also
could be.
reinforcement.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Margaret, I'll give you a chance to introduce yourself with all your magical stuff.
Oh, um,
Oh, and happy birthday. Oh, it's not really happy birthday. Oh, Karen's screwing with her thing. Okay.
oh, I was gonna
Go
say,
ahead.
what are we celebrating? What do you want to know? I'm Margaret
Just-
Griffith.
Hi, what you doing here? Topic, why you're here.
Yeah. Um, I'm Margaret Griffith. I have been long associated with the Rich Chicks gang. And I was just sharing earlier with Karen and Mickey that after a big long winter of woo-woo, I'm now at what I'm calling for the rest of the year a reset and just kind of collect. In fact, I was digging in my storage closet, rearranging filing cabinets last night, and I came across a whole box of old Rich Chicks binders.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I might.
From Monetary Identity.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
And
wow.
there's other stuff in there too. So
Yeah.
so yeah, so that's why I'm here, a little refresh. And as I said, I've started this process and then this popped up and it just felt like the angels going, hey, look at this. Here's something.
Hey,
So,
hey,
yeah.
hey,
Hey,
yeah.
hey.
hey, hey. I'm curious. So somebody just said to me the other day, I was at the eyeglass store and she had been, she was like, you look so familiar and you look so familiar. And she kept saying to me, no, I know you, like, I know you. And I went, okay.
Yeah.
And she was in one of my old classes at Community Action, but she was like, you have to bring back Wealth 101 and Wealth 102. And did you take Wealth 101 or Wealth 102?
I think I started with gray matter or gray whatever.
Yeah, gray market. Yep.
Gray market. I think I started there and then I don't know, I took them all. I took one of them twice.
Yeah,
I
Monetary
can check
Identity
my
people take
binders.
twice. Yes.
But yeah, that would be interesting. The class I'd be really interested in,
What?
because I'm doing some coaching and therapy work and that sort of thing. Um, the classes were really good to just introduce vocabulary and just ideas and ways of thinking and looking at things.
Yeah.
But now these years later, I would love one where to get into, I am very, very, very interested in getting into the somatic issues of money.
Oh.
I don't know if you know Barry Tesler's book.
Yeah.
So I am very interested in that piece of it because what I know is that we can learn things and we could think about them, but how we feel about them is completely different. And it's usually driving the bus. And so I'm doing some somatic work right now. So full disclosure, that's the reason it really interests me. But I think there'd be a whole group interested in this idea of kind of the next step up, not just the somatic work, but just the next step up. Like I know nothing about investing really. I know a little bit, but
Right.
not, but just kind of how do you think about it in grown-up terms? We were little tadpoles figuring stuff out, but now that you're a frog, how might you approach this?
Right.
And especially as women, because I don't like to harp on that whole gender thing with around money, but it's real.
Well, it's real, and women in business. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
other that's the other piece. And we are also all women that are working on big ticket items.
Right.
That these are not small tickets. I'm not selling a $5 item.
Right.
And neither are either of you.
And right. And how you I was just invited to sit in on a class at Century College of it's their last week of class of interior designers, and we were talking about it, and budget came up, and I just said, you have to understand when you're in this conversation that you are trying to delineate cost and value.
Yes.
And the value piece is where it comes into how do people think and feel about their money, right? What is of value to them. So at any rate, yes.
I love that. I love that. And
That's what I'm
I feel
thinking
like
of.
Karen is feverishly writing notes down. I feel like she's like, okay, what am I? I feel like she's
Well,
looking at my
I was just
schedule for,
looking to see if that was on our list.
yeah, okay.
Oh,
Like, how do you feel about it? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It's,
That's the first thing that we go through is when we do the what does money look like?
oh yeah, when money is walking down the street.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What does it
Which
look
one
like?
is that in monetary identity?
It
It's
might
in
be.
all of them.
I think they're all of them that we give that assignment.
Are you
And
teaching any of the classes anymore?
mm, no, but we're ready. I mean, I have an accountability group on Sundays, and that's been the big moment of this time. But that I think we're all ready to come back to class.
I am.
I
Yeah.
think we're all ready to finally, that it took us all to kind of get to this point to be ready to go, yeah, I'm ready to take it on. It's been very exhausting.
Oh,
I
God.
think that the world itself has been very exhausting for people, and that it's really a good time to celebrate again. It's
Yeah.
really a good time to go, let me get in my lane on my stuff.
Well, and I think and get out of all the legitimate, in my opinion, but the fear mongering and all, just the crazy train that's happening. People need to just take a deep breath and hold themselves because the world is just shaking.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and
Uh,
so, yeah,
so
that's
on
a
that,
great idea.
that somatic piece, if you have not met the Chandler Yorkall, he is also in our neighborhood. His wife Cara, you may have known from group. She has the fertility clinic. But anyway, Chandler does that somatic work of somatic release in massage. So
I remember them. In
yeah,
fact, I sent Lou to Chandler.
yeah. So
What's his
anyway,
name? Chandler.
Chandler Yorkall, and he does somatic work for
Spell his last name.
uh York as in the street, and
Yep,
then Hall as in I'm going down it.
got it.
And anyway, he's at Cara's clinic, which is fertile ground, and he is doing somatic work, and he does a lot of trauma response, but it's a gentle kind of stretching type of work with the body to kind of ask it some questions and let it release. And it's been a powerful tool. And I think, again, anything that we can put into our tool belt. Another interesting thing on that somatic piece is, and it's actually over by Karen's house in St. Paul. But if you know Caitlin Mariah,
That's a name I don't know.
um, Caitlin did a lot of work on opening the heart in general, the heart chakra. And she has used acupuncture also for healing somatic stuff. And I'm surprised at how many more acupuncturists are coming into that realm of 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 healing in that format. I think you're really onto something, Margaret. So keep talking about it everywhere you go, because
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think everyone's ready to know how much junk is in the flesh.
right. I bumped into there's a across from Bachman's on Lindale. There's a workout studio.
Yeah, I go there a lot. Are you going to Frank's things?
I don't know about Frank. No, I ended up I'm spacing out her name. I'm terrible with names this week. I don't know. I'm blaming it on the trees and their pollen. Um,
Or their love?
or their love. Their love. Yes, it is their love. Their pollen is their love. Um,
That's correct.
Madeline. Her name is Madeline. Can't think of her mother owns the place. At any rate, long story short, and I wish she'd do more of them. In the winter, she does these somatic breathing sessions
Oh
where,
yeah.
oh man, it is so fun. It's an hour and a half in the studio. She does these great like theme music things and coaches you through a whole somatic breathing cleansing thing. If you ever get a chance, do it
Oh
because
yeah, I'll have to look at that.
it's
I
pretty
usually
amazing.
only go there to see Frank, so that would be an opening.
Who is Frank?
Um, Frank does gong healing.
Oh,
So he does sound baths. So you get to
oh,
be in the big dance studio. Everybody lays down, kind of, he'll do them on the full moon or
How do I
whatever.
find Frank? How do I get on his list?
Well, I'll pass it on.
Thank
So
you.
the D Christina, Frank, and then it's DI, and then the name Christina. But his wife was also in this group a lot of years
I was
ago.
gonna say that name is so familiar to
Yeah,
me.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's her husband.
Is it Studio Timeout? Is that the name of it?
Yep, yep. And they've got a lot going on there. I actually really like that little studio.
It's a great space, and the woman who owns it is really interesting. I met her right when she bought it, and I was in a class. I was in a. Oh, this was so fun. I was in something called Fast Track through St. Thomas. Lou gifted it to me, and it was a class, an evening class for um non-major entrepreneurs years ago.
Yeah,
I met a woman in there, and she introduced me to her because she wanted to do some space planning, and we talked about some basic stuff. And then we just went our separate ways. And then 20 years later, I came back, and I was like, "Wow!" And I went through. I'm like, "She got it. She got it."
she got it.
Yeah,
She
because
got
it's a
it.
great space. It has good. It's grounded well, and it has good energy. I really like
Yeah,
it.
I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. Okay, Karen K, update from you. What's new?
Well, I just got back from that 5-day writers retreat,
Mm.
which was way fun and very relaxing. And I'm writing, and I'm trying to put together a book of my short stories.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, makes me a
It
little
was great.
crazy.
So we just had a writers retreat, and it was 5 sleeps, 6 days, and every night everybody comes to the table and at night for dinner, and you can have a table read. So anything that you wrote or created during the day, you can share with the group. And so Karen always sits at the very end, right, at the end of the table, and so she, by the third time they were all like, Karen, are you going to read? And so she read one of the stories, and you would have thought that somebody had won the pennant, that they were like, it's so great. So yeah, if you haven't read Karen's writing, you should.
I look forward to Karen's book, so I can.
Yeah, it's good. Well, the one that you read for the group, Karen, is that going to be in that, is it made the edit?
Yes, I
Yeah.
just finished editing it. Yeah.
Okay. So I know there's one story in there that'll make you go, wow. Yeah, there's a quick sell. Okay, Sandy Cleland, give us your update.
Well, this class really appealed to me today because of the focus part. From scattered to focused. So
Yeah,
it's exactly what I need. I'm very scattered. I keep adding things to my schedule, and it's like, oh, how am I gonna get all this done? So anyway, my introduction, I am a real estate agent with Remax, and I've been doing it for 35 years, and I've been living at the same house in Armitage since 1985 with my husband and my cat. And yeah, so the things I'm working on, well, and this is a crazy thing that I haven't told very many people, but I'm starting to sell Norwex. I know, and I've wanted to do it for many, many years, but of course it's like, well, that's just a distraction from what you should really be doing, selling houses.
yeah.
But I like the products, and I've always wanted to like give them to my clients, and
And for sure.
well, I want to get a discount on those packages, if I'm going to give
Yeah.
them away a lot. So I had my first show yesterday. It was super fun, super relaxing. And so I'm having my own party in 2 weeks at my house.
Oh,
But
good.
anyway, so
Are
that's,
you going to do the window with the butter
oh, absolutely. And the raw chicken. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the raw chicken? I've never seen the raw chicken.
Oh,
Oh, I might come just for the raw
they
chicken.
are famous for the raw chicken. Yeah. So yeah, to show how the Norwex EnviroCloth cleans up all the protein on the plate, and then
Wow.
you test it again, and then there's nothing there. So
Oh, wow. This is
it's pretty
amazing.
amazing. So I got that, and then I finally scheduled some things. I scheduled a buyer class for the end of
Mhm,
June. So I'll be
mhm.
doing another buyer class, which all the stuff that goes with that. I'm doing a fundraiser for my Senate district also middle of June. We finally got a schedule update for that, so I gotta organize that. And then my follow-up on my real estate stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just always been really, really bad with the follow-up. And so I'm meeting with the woman in charge of training at our office, and she's gonna go over this this product that they offer us that has, all the stuff, all the bells and
Oh,
whistles.
like a CRM product?
It's a CRM, and then it's got, the social media and all this.
And what is the name of that product again?
Well, it used to be KV Core, now it's Bold Trails.
Oh, wow.
It's for
Okay.
it's for real estate. And
Is it a different product or is it just an evolution of the old one?
Bold Trails,
Yeah.
it's just an evolution of the old one. They renamed it and they must have made some changes. Yeah,
Well, that'll be exciting. So, but that's a product that a lot of people know how to work in,
right.
right? Because I mean, realtors, it's really realtor focused, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So that's what and then of course the other thing is decluttering the house, but you know what? Scheduling that Norwex party,
But
I have to clean the house. I have to get organized.
right. Do we get to have a potluck?
Look at you.
Are we having a potluck?
Well, we're having a potluck for the Senate District fundraiser. We're gonna make
Oh,
food out of our community cookbook that we put together.
wow.
Yeah,
I
it's
didn't even
gonna
know
be
you put a
amazing.
community cookbook together.
Yeah, I will send you all the information. It's amazing. Wait.
Yeah. How come that's not in the Norwex kit?
Okay.
Oh, wow. And that's a nice cookbook.
Isn't it gorgeous? So
Yes.
after the DFL legislature got the trifecta a
Yeah.
couple years ago, we put this cookbook together, Taste the Trifecta, and it's got
Wow.
recipes in it from that are given from like our legislators and from ourselves. You know what my recipe is?
What?
Those brownies.
Everyone always wants, and
The
they're like, what?
the Aldi's brownies.
Yes, it
So
works.
anyway, so all the people are gonna bring recipes from the book. But for the Norwex party here, I will serve food unless you want to bring something. I mean, of course, you can bring something, but it's not about, people don't have to work. They can just come and
They can
enjoy.
just come and be there, and
Yeah.
maybe get something out of that book.
Well, there you go.
Right, right. You should highlight. And by the way,
Exactly.
here's a
So
cookbook.
yeah, so that's
That's a lot.
I know it's a lot. It's a lot. So,
Yeah.
oh, and then I have to go visit my dad. I haven't visited him this year, so I need to go. And I need to go before it gets too hot. It's already in the 90s there.
Oh, for sure.
So I'm
In
gonna go
Texas,
this
yeah.
month. I'm gonna go at the end of the month. And then I'm afraid, the airplane will fall out of the sky or nick somebody's wing. And so I gotta worry about that. But whatever. I'm just taking
Yeah.
my chances.
Take your chances. Well, your chances are real good. Real good.
I got my will done, so we're all good.
Right, because you also did the 90 days of wealth organization.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
got all that done. So
Yeah.
that's my
So
story.
that's your story. Well, welcome back.
Thank
Welcome
you.
back. Well, today we have a good class. I'm glad that you're here. There's going to be some nuggets in here. Margaret, I'm going to kind of pre-warn you that sometimes when there's a lot of stuff on there, just get your cell phone handy. And Margaret's eating her breakfast, so she didn't want us to see her eating. That's why she came off the screen, but she's really here. But you can just take your phone and screenshot something that's good for you, and then you can go back to it. But Karen has the recording going, so it'll work as well. So I'm gonna share my screen. Karen, any other last words that we should know about what's going on or anything? Any updates?
The world is going on, and I'm not flying out of Newark Airport.
Yeah, that feels kind of great, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we are here. Let me go back. This will give you a clue as to how many great photos are here. We have a really good looking group today. So here is our piece today, From Scattered to Streamlined, Finding Your Focus and Flow. And when you are thinking about that, I'm going to give you a kind of some wider scope items and some real laser focused items as well. But again, today, as many of you know, especially for those of you who are watching the redo, we have hit over 100,000 hours of view on our NW2s. So people are watching them somewhere. And so for those of you who are watching this somewhere, that today we're going to celebrate. Again, I like to have these be colorful and interesting and inviting. So today we're going to celebrate lilac season here in Minnesota. If you haven't seen a lilac tree, it is, you can't even walk outside without smelling the amount of trees that are in bloom here in Minnesota. And like Margaret said, I mean, it is like the love affair of this season. You get this 1 month that you just breathe in the floral of everywhere. So today we're going to do lilac purple as our theme, and we're going to talk about that brilliantly distracted conversation. And what I also remind people is, hello, if you haven't met me before, my name is Mickey Mikeworth. I own Mikeworth Consulting, but what most people know me for is, if you are from the academic world, you probably know me for writing the prosperity business model, which is the 3 E's: environment, economy, and efficiency. How do you build your business around those 3 E's? But I'm also the 2-time winner of the Top Woman in Finance. But I'm also dedicated my life to one word, and that is called prosperity. And I've been doing it a long time. So I am now coming up onto my 70,000 hours of working in this concept of talking about money and just how to make things work. So thanks for tuning in. So today we're going to talk about that kind of scattered thinking, and I'm going to go to 4 things. And you can thank Karen for the outline of these 4, because that's all Karen, of kind of really identifying the 4 areas that we were going to talk about, right? The impulsive, the overcommitted, the perfectionist, and the distracted. So sometimes you're one of these, and sometimes you're all of them. So that's the magic, that so many of you brilliant people are actually on a different day 1 or 4 of these people. So that's also the thing about distracted thinking is that, you know, you're a lot of things to a lot of moments. And so we are really going to focus in again on what's the strainer that I'm putting information through, is always that ability of magnifying with intention, using your values and your vision to say, look, this is the point that I'm going to magnify from, right? That magnification with intention. Why am I doing it? Right? Why is it that way? And as a business strategist, the first thing that I ask every business every time is that I go, what's working? And I just saw Sandy's face as she saw today's Easter egg. Right? Oh, oh, yes. This is your Easter egg clue for those of you who are going to think about the summer theme. It is not exactly this, but it is your clue as to what the summer theme will be this year. And we will have a party, and it will be in August. So what is working? Think about what is working in your business right now. And that's always the first place that I need people to focus on, is what is working. And that gives us a lot of information. It gives us a lot of information about what you naturally like to do. It gives us a lot of information about what you have done. And then secondly, we want to start to find, like, your homework for this next hour is to really look at just one. You just need one really good spot that you need extra clarity in. And I'll give you a kind of a section of choices. But again, you're just looking to go, I got to move forward on one thing. And the one thing I need greater clarity on is this one thing. So keep that on. when we talk about scatter, that word, it is kind of that double entendre, right, of scattered thinking. But I think about scatter in a lot of ways, and you are probably showcasing scatter in a lot of different ways. So it is the small amount of something spread on various items. So sometimes that's you sprinkling your magic on something. I had somebody say to me, I went to go visit their business, and they went, I feel like you just sprinkled magic over everything. And just because we walked around and talked about it, right? We just kind of sprinkled things around. And sometimes when you think about your thoughts in general, sometimes they're just interspersed, right? That you are kind of thinking two things at one time, that you can tell when somebody's thinking about something else and they're doing something else. Sometimes it's that you have same thoughts circulating around and around. Sometimes it's just litter. Sometimes there's just garbage thoughts going around. So when you're thinking about scatter, the reason that it feels this way is this one. And if you're going to do a screenshot, this is where I would screenshot, because we have just small amounts of time and we have to scatter them on all these different pieces. As a business owner, you have all of these things. And you go, well, what is it that I have a small amount of time I can give to something? Right? Like, let me work on this thing and that thing and this thing, right? I need to gather resources, or I need labor. I need people to do jobs. I actually need support for myself, right? Or that I need a lawyer today, or I need technology, or whatever. That we are sometimes, we think we're scattered in our brain and in our thought process, but what we are is we are someone with a lot of things that need a little bit of our attention. And so there's a difference between just I can't keep track, like I can't focus, to no, there's a lot of things that have to get done. So I do want to just remind you that a lot of scattered thought for business owners is that there's a lot to do. And that's what organization is for. That's what organization is for. So when you're thinking about scatters, I also want you to think about the other sides of this, that sometimes it is that you have an offshoot thought, right? That you go, oh, I'm doing this thing, and then I had this other idea, right? Or that you have something that you're trying to hold in your mind when you really should have wrote it down, that you don't have a system to put together to capture ideas. So your brain is circulating it around and around and around because it's trying to hold it, or it's trying to peg it so that you'll remember it. I had somebody yesterday I was talking to one of the business development people in Florida, and we were talking about what his capturing system was. And he said, oh, well, I just repeat it to myself over and over and over and over and over and over and over while I'm on my walk. And I went, well, that's a terrible use of your time. But he's just trying to hold it. And especially if you have a creative mind, especially if you have a mind that's in flow, or that sometimes gets this fire attached to it, right? Where you suddenly have this just blaze of ideas, you have to have a capturing system. So there's some pieces here that I want to remind people about. Our goal today is to learn to not squander the magic, because when it's coming and when it's flowing, you've got to find a way to capture that magic. So don't squander the magic, but I also don't want you to water down the flavor by over making it kind of yucky, right? You're trying to just smooth yourself over everything, and it just gets watered down. So for those of you who have come to a lot of classes, again, remember, we do have these 4 points of prosperity. So many of you, especially when you've been working at prosperity a long time, you understand that we are constantly trying to put that harmony of ourselves together, and a harmony of all parts of ourself working. The reason that this becomes very difficult is because we've become this layer cake. It's not, if we just had one layer of cake, man, our life would be easy. But we don't. We want our life to add up in all these different parts. We want it to add up and spiritually and physically and intellectually and emotionally and financially and socially. And for me, it's also magically, right? That I want it to add up to be something that I'm really enjoying, right? It's a bowl to fill. And so when you think about that complexity, I do want to remind everyone that you are building a layer cake of your own life. So sometimes the reason that it's difficult to focus is because it's actually the process that you need, not the ingredients. And that process is what's really helpful. So my agenda today is really pretty not complex. Even though I'm going to give you some complex ideas, it's just we're just going to talk about those four kind of places. And sometimes you're this person in the morning, and you're that person in the mid morning, and you're this person in the early afternoon, and you're this person at evening. So really just looking at the assessments and starting to give you some tools, and then we'll come back and find out what you got. But my goal always is, one, have a good time. Thanks for being here. You have a wonderful life. This is the garden of your life. And investing in the garden of your life is valuable. And that is also a garden that's interdispersed, right? It's not one flower, it's that layer cake. And so when we think about that from a gardener's perspective, it's this thing growing next to this thing, growing next to this thing. And sometimes daffodils do not enjoy being next to tulips. That they don't work good. So just like you can't plant certain things next to each other, this is your garden of life. Some tasks don't match other tasks. And many of you know that I am advising to a type of math, and that math is called blockchain. So I spend a lot of time with tech and techie people, and the world is really growing faster than you think. And the next 18 months is going to be a powerful indicator of how things will change. So again, what are we talking about? We're talking about technology tools that are coming to the forefront. And AI is kind of lumped into this big concept, which kind of like the internet is talked into, or the webs, we have this big group concept, but there's many types of AI, and there's many uses of AI. And you're going to see, really, when you think about it, I want you to think about it as massive learning of large data, that what we're really learning right now is how large data can inform us, and how many of us have the same question. If you remember in class, even way back when the dinosaurs roamed the earth and I was in college, back then, the teacher would say, please raise your hand with a question, because if you have a question, someone else in the class also has a question, right? That they knew just from being a teacher that somebody else had the same question, but somebody had to fess up. And that is also true in data. So if you're typing something in, right, that's how Google made a living, right? The questions that you have are there. And we have moved from technology of wanting to know the answer. It wasn't really that we had a access. When the internet was first invented, access was an issue, right? We didn't have the ability to get to that piece of information easily. That was the first part. But Google made a living on saying, look, we have to curate an answer, right? We have to curate an answer. And now enough has been here for the last 15 years that has been captured in data that we kind of know the questions you're going to answer. If you've ever typed into the bar where you go, oh, let me put in the first two words, and then it finishes it for you, and that lets you know how many other people have asked that same question, right? Was Tom Hanks married? Right? That you only have to go to Tom and then the H, and it goes, oh gosh, his daughter has a new book out. So that there are many things that AI is doing, and it's because we have this large recognition of things that people have been pouring into them. And one of them is speech recognition. If you are terrible at taking notes, or if you are someone who speaks your thoughts, AI is going to be a really big tool for you, because you can just put on the record voice memo section of your phone and talk it in while you're driving, and then it'll give you a transcript. You can throw it into AI and it'll give you a list. So you can just talk it out. For those of you who are auditory and want to hear it back, you can also program your list to talk to you. So you're going to see a lot of tools here that are going to help you in many ways. Fraud detection is going to be one of them. Sales forecasting. If any of you are out there and you are using any of like Square or PayPal or any other those systems where they are a POS system, a point of sale system, what is happening is they're using AI to help you grab at what's the right amount of loan for you. So what's, can we give you a loan? We'll take it off of the front end. So you're seeing this big data of how are they using that in a new way. So now you'll get a loan right from your POS system, and they'll give you a small term loan. Here's 15,000, and you can have the loan the next day because they've watched your sales every day. They know how much money you have in the bank every day. So you're going to see a lot more systems talking to each other. And that right there is going to give you more information that you're going to go, oh, okay, is this a sprinkle of magic for me? Or is this just, something that's watering down my magic? And that's really the kind of the place of is you will have to, no matter what, as a business owner, really focus on how do I not squander my magic, right? And not let all of this stuff dilute down, water down what I really have. So that's kind of the complexity of it. And the other thing about that is that when you feel scattered, it feels reckless, especially for those of you who like things that have order or appreciate order. If you're someone that appreciates order, being scattered feels reckless, and that will give you anxiety. And that'll give you that low level of like, ugh, right? So there are many tools that are going to come for you in the next 18 months because AI can write itself now. So I can just ask it verbally to build me something to do that. Whereas websites now can be built verbally. Can you change it to purple? Can you do this? Can you do that? And so you're going to see a lot of really poorly done things. We just saw a Honda ad that my husband sent out. This is a mainline ad that went out from Honda selling vans. And they used an AI image of their own thing, and it only had 3 wheels on it. Oh my God. And my husband is the one that like watches the news, and he sees how many people misspell things, or they use the wrong term, that he's like, is no one fact checking? Is no one doing it? No, they're just going, okay, that looks good, get it up. And that is, and I post them a lot, where I will send a picture of myself into AI, and I'll come back with 25 fingers or something, that AI doesn't have it right all the time. You still have to kind of go through it. But in that early stages are usually the first decade of something, you really see that magic kind of in question, right? It hasn't learned it yet. So when you are thinking about people who naturally have that neurodiversity, they may have a little ADHD, they may just be very creative, that kind of person who's like all over the board, that is thinking about all sorts of things. Wow, 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 wow. They have some really unique strengths. And while they, and they only get that, they come that way. You come that way. You really have people who are very creative and innovative, and they have this ability to think outside the box or connect things very uniquely. One of the things that I really appreciate about people letting their mind wander is that they really make great connections. And we'll talk about the brain science behind that as well. But it's also this hyper focus. If you are someone that knows how to hyper focus, because maybe you get caught in it, we call that rabbit hole, right? That I'll get in this rabbit hole of something, and I purposely try to assign people a rabbit hole, because you want to get into something that's totally new, totally different, because you've got to keep that brain alive. But it allows you to think about something else and connect. I was doing a songwriting class I had flown to Phoenix, and they had some very famous songwriters there that we could take a class from. And I had decided that I was going to use songwriting to kind of manage some grief from a business partner that had died. And that I wanted, that's how I was going to kind of do it. I needed a song about it. And one of the things that they talked about is that creative well, and how important it was to have that depth. And for them as songwriters working with many different talented people, is that they needed to focus in on that well to make sure they had enough creativity in there of experiences, expressions, language, actual art form, to be able to get into a hyper focus. So the reason that you want to fill your well is so that when you do go into hyper focus, there is a lot of power in that engine. So staying creative, going to do things that are fun, going to look at the flowers, and taking a walk in a beautiful space, or being in a museum, it is also the tool for that hyper focus ability. So do the fun stuff. Do the fun stuff. It's not just that it makes you more creative, but it fills that well. And the deeper the well, those scattered thinkers can really become enmeshed into something really powerfully deeply. And that is getting past that 90-minute mark. So staying with something for more than 90 minutes. If you have something that you want to kind of have as a hyper focus, that's one of the tools I want to give you, is really looking at these longer timers, is really going, look, I'm going to focus on this for 120 minutes. That's the goal for everybody, is to be able to stay on a task for 120 minutes, because your brain actually changes at that 90-minute mark. And then there's resilience. The other thing that you will have to really focus on, and this is what is very much everywhere, is that resilience of being able to get through things, right? And that resilience, sometimes high energy and spontaneity is great, but it also takes up a lot of energy. So the more spontaneous you are and you haven't been doing it, you're kind of tired. So it's also looking at resiliency. Are you managing your mental resiliency, your physical resiliency, and your problem solving? And then that rapid idea generation. If you aren't using it as a daily piece, again, when the How journal comes, I think that's a good class for everybody. But that a rapid idea generation, multiple ideas quickly, to go, what are the 10 ways I can do to solve this? And it's a fun task. I think it's going to become the next party trick, really, to be able to go, okay, let me bring all my problems to the table, and then you guys give me 10 ways I can solve it, and they all have to be different. It really allows you to access multiple parts of your brain at one time. So when we think about what's here, there's some really good pieces about scattered thinking, and I do appreciate that about it. So let's go into the 4 kind of spots. Boy, does this have Mickey on it all the way. Right? I am easily excited. If a good idea comes out of your mouth, I am jumping. I am jumping for joy. This is, if I want to self-identify right here, it's there. And I think I even own this purple feather. that right, I can easily come into something, and it's hard for that personality type to finish a project. So if you are that person, I will give you the clue that I have a little note on my where I sit that says, I am a completist. That you really have to focus on completing a task, and that is a trained item. That is not a natural habit for anyone. So again, I work with executives that are running multi-billion-dollar portfolios, and being a completist is a trained craft, and you want to focus in on capture. So when you are looking at the positives of that, that's somebody that's easily excited, but they also have a lot of strengths, right? So this is another page where if this is you, I would just screenshot it, because you really want to look at idea capturing as a tool. And also really there's another group, accountability group that I run called the 12-week year. This is why it works, is that you're committing in the 12-week year. We have 3 goals, and then you process them for 84 days. In this version, we're just saying, look, pick one thing and focus on it for 90 days. So the 84-day conversation for the 12-week year, the reason that it works is that anybody can stay on a diet for 84 days. Anybody can stay on working on my stupid stuff that I don't really want to do for 84 days. That there's an end. There's an end, and you can measure it, and that you're in a group, and everybody's like, hey, how's it going? We're halfway through. We're 1/4 of the way through. We're 3/4 of the way through. Oh my gosh, we're done. It committing to just smaller amounts of stuff and focusing in on them with an end time, boom, it's over. I'm out. It gives agility to that person's natural strength pattern, right? That they don't have to stay attached to it. They don't have to stay attached to it. They just have to kind of put it in. And that timer, if you have not used the Pomodoro timer technique, it is crucial. And it's also crucial to lock. A lot of people think of it the wrong way. It's actually that you're going to go, oh, I'm going to focus on this task for 25 minutes. That's the right answer. Well, but there's another half of that coin. There's the flip side of that coin. And that is to say, no. What are you actually doing? You're actually saying, I will not let the world distract me for this amount of time. So yes, you're focusing on this other thing. That's one side of the coin. But the tail side of that coin is that you are putting up a barrier that says, I will not allow a distraction in. And that's the more powerful tool. So yes, I'm going to get this thing done. You're going to get a reward system for that. But what are you teaching in that moment? What am I teaching you as a leader in that moment is the flip side of that coin, is how to learn to put a boundary up around time that says, I want the things that come in, but it's also teaching you an amount of time that you are learning to shut out distractions. And that's the more powerful tool. That's the long range win. So when you're using a timer, know when I'm assigning that to someone, I'm showing the flashy head side of the coin, but I'm really working on the tail side of that technique. And again, accountability partner. If I've learned anything in the last 12 rounds of the 12-week year, it is how important community focus is to someone's individual strength. So if you're going to take one thing away today, it is that 12-week year model. Just pick something big, right? And everything has a season. And when you pick those goals, you're going to pick the ones that are in the season. So, when it's time to plant, it's time to plant. When it's time to, there's a time to put the zucchini seed in, and there's a time to eat the zucchini. And you have to kind of go through what is the season of that moment. And many of you work in fields that have a season, that it's downtime or it's uptime. And I live in a state that has real constraints around weather. So that people in where I live, like right now in May, they're all going out of their mind. They're going out of their mind. There's so much more energy. They just come alive. Everyone is coming alive. They're cleaning out stuff. They're going to yard sales. They're like, they got 20 more things on their list every day, that they're in hyper acceleration because it's so great. And then they're flopping on the side of the yard just to lay there in exhaustion because it's so good. Let me just drink that sun up. And so that seasonality. So when you're thinking about the things that you're doing, I want you to think about that, of what's the season for the work that you're doing? What's the season for what you are doing? The overcommitted multitasker. Round 2, right? Here's the second version of who you may be. right? And this, I will tell you, I see this a lot in middle management, that this is a very common item, and that I have people tell me all the time that they are a multitasker. They get 10 things done at one time and they're sure it's great. And I go, it's great until all the chips come tumbling down. And you only have had to have lived through this to understand how scattered and chaotic a multitasker is. And when you see someone who is multitasking all the time, they are running on adrenaline. And that is a long-term practice. It's tough. And I will tell you, out of the 4 that we're talking about, this one is the hardest. I was working on a business model with the University of St. Thomas, and one of the former students that I had was someone that is in this category, and they also had her as a student, and they actually highlight her business as to what not to do, because she refuses to get rid of this attachment of, I can do 10 things at one time. I'm interested in everything. I can do everything. And that is about being attached to something, as opposed to the really being attached to just, I want to do it all. Well, they don't understand some of this prioritizing or seasonality or their youth sometimes, because they can do it for a long time, but you can't sustain that for 20 years and stay healthy. What I love about that person is, this is often someone that is hardworking and that can do a couple of things at one time. They just, because they can do one, they can think they can do 4. Right? If I can do one extra thing, now I can do 2. Now I want to jump into 4. Then I want to do 8. Then I want to, this is, they just are sure. And if you've ever had too many groceries for your cabinet, then I just go, look, only so much stuff fits into those little cabinets. Like, buying a truckload of stuff from Costco doesn't help you if it doesn't fit into the system. And so I just kind of do that as a visual. And what I also see a lot of is the expectation of this in higher management of, oh, well, you should be able to manage all these tasks. But that doesn't mean, just because all these tasks are happening, isn't mean that that's where I'm focusing. So I really use that rule of 3. Every high performing female that I have ever met that's working at a multinational company that is running multi-billion dollar portfolios. And we have a lot of them. We have 24 multinationals here in the city that we live in, that they all use the rule of 3. So, and that is that they just go, look, I got 3 big ones today. Let me make sure that I focus on those first. And they also use that in reporting. They use that in an email. Give me the top 3 things that we want to talk about. We're having a meeting. We're only going to focus on those top 3. And then they just increase their meetings to go, okay, I'll meet you every Tuesday now instead of every once a month. So if you have a lot to do, they still keep it to the 3. They just increase the amount of times they'll touch point. So some of you may need to focus on 3 every day, every week, or every month, but that rule of 3. The other thing about the number one training piece that we do with all of the people that are really, that this is their primary style, is to learn to say no. And that's about knowing your values, right? When we talk about magnification, right? Why do we talk about it through prosperity mindset? Is once you know your values and your vision, it's really easy to say no. To go, oh yeah, that's not my primary focus. No, can't do that. I'm really doing this. I had somebody, I said, what can I do to support you? And she was like, I want you to do this thing. And I went, well, I love you for that, but no. Right? I love you for that. No, I don't have the time commitment to do that. But I can do these other things. So sometimes it's helpful to also understand what you can say yes to. Saying no is a lot easier when you know what you can say yes to. So no, I can't do that, but yes, I have time next Thursday or whatever. So part of what you want to be able to have in saying no is to have this secret list in the back of your mind of what you can say yes to. And and this class was one of the things that came out of what can I say yes to, that it going online, right? You can see it online. If you can't physically be here, everybody that buys a ticket knows, if I can't actually be here at this time that it's being taught live, I can watch it on the replay. So let's just record it. And so if you have a process or something that you're doing a lot, record it, because somebody can watch it in another form. So if you're teaching a class or something like that, that's why you have it on record. Somebody can hear it in another form. Sometimes I will take the class that I am teaching right now and I will record it on an audio so that I can just send it to somebody to go, this class, you should have been here for this class. This would have been a good class for you. Here it is on audio. Maybe you can listen to it in the car. And sometimes that's really helpful, of what's new, right? How can I get to that information? So the other thing of that over just too many things, and Kathy's popping in. Hey, Kathy, you're doing just fine. We're only on number 2. So understanding what you can say yes to. So saying no is easy when you know what you can say yes to. The time blocking is going to be really interesting. Task batching is one thing, but time blocking is kind of a little bit fantastic, because again, it's the same secret item that I'm doing, right? Is exactly like we talked about in the last part of why a timer works really well. Is, yes, you're focusing in on something, but the other side of that, the tail side of that coin, is that you are learning to say, this, I'm going to tune out all of these other things so that I can tune in. Time blocking on your calendar is just saying, look, this is what I'm really doing. Exactly the timer method, but this is how do I capture it one level up on my calendar as well. So sometimes when I'm just doing a timer for 25 minutes on a subject, I don't necessarily have that planned into my day. So calendaring is just up leveling one more to go, let me time block so that I have this container for that. But the actual skill is doing the task, and doing the task without interruption. And the tool there is learning to block out interruption. And that's the bigger piece. The other thing is that for people that you find that are often overcommitted, is they are exhausted, that they are running on caffeine, adrenaline, sugar, that they are running on things that they don't feel that they can let go of. And the other thing about someone who has a very full, vibrant life is when it turns down, they think, oh gosh, and that, like, if it goes down, I might crash. And over people who are just overcommitted often are worried about a crash, because they have one frequently. Because they're gonna get one. They're gonna get one, whether they planned it or not. So exactly like this image, right? The rule of 3. That if I told you to count all the lines on the pictures of these leaves, you would be like, no, there's too many. No. But if I said, let's just look at 3 leaves, you go, oh, I can totally do that. I can appreciate the art form there. I can do something else. And that's really the visual kind of entendre of why I want you to just do 3. They might be complex, but if I look at all of the complexities of all the leaves, it's just, I'm going to glaze over and I'm going to opt out. So that rule of 3 really, really helps. And the thing I really want you to take away from these first 2 is making focus a habit, and the 2 sides of that, and trusting your brain how to focus. And really, the reason you're doing the focus is so that you can actually teach it to edit out the interruption. If you've ever been around somebody who has like 6 kids, I'm around a lot of people with a lot of kids, and like there'll be a kid like, mom, 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 and their mom is just continuing to ignore that child and have a conversation with you, and you're like, why are we not addressing it? She's like, they're fine. They know they shouldn't be interrupting me, right? But if you are not used to editing out that child's mom, 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 hey, mom, 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 right? If you're not used to editing out those things, it's very difficult. So you are training your brain to focus in a time period. Number 3 out of the 4 is, now this is a little more subtle. I put the B in there for a reason. Subtle. The perfectionist overthinker. Sometimes they're quiet. Sometimes you don't always see them. Sometimes this part sneaks up for yourself. And when I think about that person, it's that one who really spends a lot of time on details, that they're going to want to outline every one of those little leaves, that they're going to want to know all of the details. This is someone that you need in your team. Again, if there's a lot of data on this, so just screenshot it so you can go back to it later. This is a great screenshot, but again, that's somebody who often doesn't finish. We have a lot of children who don't hand in their homework because it's not done. Well, but it's almost done. They could have gotten credit around the 80% they got done, but they didn't hand it in. So when you are working with someone who is this way, this is someone who struggles to finish a task. They're putzing on these little details. And the ugly first deadline works for writers. It works on content. It works on a lot of things, which is just to go, let me just get an outline. Let me set a timer, right? I'm going to go for 20 minutes and go, I'll edit it later. And that first rush at something, first pass, second pass, third pass, really works well for that type of person, is to break down their process and go, well, let's just take a first pass at it. And that's often called this ugly first draft, but just to go, look, we're just going to do a first pass on it. And that also builds them a little timeline, which is teaching them the same thing, right? That we're moving it, we're walking away. We're moving it, we're walking away. We're moving it, we're walking it away. And sometimes that's that they're just coming back at it with a fresh eye. What I also teach to the people in this one is that they really have to give themselves some exit notes on their projects. So when you are looking at a project, before you exit out of that out of that first pass, you write yourself notes of what you were thinking about or what you were remembering them, so that you can pick up that mindset. Part of the reason that they focus on those small details is that they don't believe they can get back to them, that they'll lose something if they don't do that. So I have them actually log out of a project to go, there has to be a log out process to say, oh, okay, I need to remember that Katie needs this and Sarah needs this and whatever, that you have to kind of put in at the end of a document, at the end of a draft, what you were thinking about, or the things you want to remember about that process, so that your brain can go back to that dot. So sometimes those people who want that perfection, they don't want to leave their process because they don't want to leave the magic, and they're worried they can't pick it back up again. So the other thing is that this limit on decision-making time. And I hear this a lot of, I'm going to make the best decision I can with what is presented at the moment. And you'll hear that from me at the decision-making table a lot, is to say, what are the pieces of knowledge we know as truth? And what's the best decision we can make based on that body of knowledge? So sometimes we're making decisions that are based on what we know as truth at that moment, right? I made a lot of jewelry decisions based on what I thought was a good idea at the moment. But I perhaps I could have made a better one. But at the moment, that felt like the best decision to make. So it's also getting them trained into what's the best decision you can make at this moment, right? What's the best decision I can make in this season, in this day, in this time slot? What's the best decision I can make at this moment? And not overanalyzing it. And that's really giving them that container of what's the body of knowledge we have at this moment, and how should we move forward based on that body of knowledge, and not start digging into all these what ifs, right? What if, what if, what if, what if? And so you're going to have a mantra. This path out of the 4 that we're talking about, this one gets really, how would I put it? This one gets really dodgy, because this is someone who really likes things done well. And they can lose a lot of self-esteem about not getting projects done. So that's the negative side of it. But they also carry a lot of angst around something that feels like they half-assed it. So, and that's especially in a high achiever, that they go, well, I visioned it to be this perfect in my mind. It's only 80% of that. So now I feel like I have a fail. So this is also someone that thinks it's a fail if it's not great. So like if you go, oh, hey, oh, wow, you made that thing? Oh, it's so great. And they're like, yeah, but I didn't do X, Y, and Z. And we've all met those friends. And guess what? They didn't need to add those 3 things. But that lets you know that's this person. That's this person. So it's a real solvable item. It's a real solvable item with tools. You have to invest the tools. This one, I love, the easily distracted wanderer. Right? They go off subject. They go off subject. This is the person that really you want at the table if you have to think about something, vision boarding, dreaming, big picture, right? I love those people at my tools. I love them at the table, because this is somebody who can jump in a very complex set of equations really easily. But what they don't do is finish. What they don't do is they get caught up in the magic of the circus, and they don't actually know how to do any of the circus tricks. That they're like, look at this big, beautiful bandstand. Okay, well, we got to sell some tickets for that bandstand. People have to be in the middle doing stuff, right? So that is not their strength. Their strength is, really wandering, that they are good at that. And so when you want them to focus in, they actually often can't do it by themselves, that they actually will have to kind of measure someone else's energy. So because there's this just leaping for joy, right? If you've ever had a brand new kitten, a brand new puppy, anyone, right? They can't help it. They're just made to jump and bling and whatever. They're just that way. But then you cradle them in your arms, and that's body doubling, right? Sometimes we're just sitting next to somebody and they're like, can I just sit with you and do my work? Right? That's why a library works. That's why a library works. That's why a coffee shop sometimes works too, because the energy of that space, you will match it. So this person really does well when they have that ability to really have some focused in time. And the other thing is that with that personality type, and that might be you in the morning, that might be you in the afternoon, but that's why I love visual tools for this type of person, is that they really do well. I love Trello boards. As we all know, I love a Trello board. For those of you who are in real estate, that we use a lot of Trello there, because it's a process that you have to break the process down and give them the pieces there. One of the other things about this type is that you can give them, so somebody that has this ability and they're looking at a section on the map, this is somebody that can expand that section. So if you have like a little section of your business that you need to expand on in thought, this is the one you want. This is that wanderer. You want them to just go and wander aimlessly in this small section. So if you have someone that's a wanderer, give them a smaller slice to work through, and then let them blow it up. Let them think big. Let them get it, how can this be bigger? And And I love those big picture ideas in a smaller target area. And they are also really rewarded with dopamine. So this personality type really does that is also part of what they get by expansion thinking. And this is also another way by just making the palette smaller for them to be able to make that smaller palette really fabulous, really fabulous. So I'll give you an example of, right, oh, I want to have this great food, right? We have a lot of chefs in this category. We have a lot of chefs in this category, and that they are like thinking about the entire palette of orange. Right, let's talk about that palette of orange. And then they have to execute, and they really have to have other tools to help them execute that idea. So it is that they're going to have a team that'll help them execute, and that will help them kind of stay there. But a visual tool for you might be sticky notes, it might be a Trello board, it might be highlighting one task at a time, but it's really saying, how do I stay in my vision and still get the stuff done, right? Not just, I love circus. Okay, but somebody's got to be able to do the tricks. Somebody's got to do the tricks. And the good news is, no matter which of these four you are, or which hour of the day you are one of these four, your brain is your helper. It is naturally going to pull you forward. And it's naturally going to pull you forward in a way that can be trained. So one of the things that I remind people about, again, how many times have you heard me to say, go play, go play, go for a walk, go do, screw around. I like to screw around a lot. and I like to screw around with you. And I like to screw around with you, that we need screw off time. And if you are someone that goes, oh, I get my best ideas in the shower, or I'm out on my walk, or whatever, this is your default mode. This is the brain in its default mode. And that default mode is so magical that you should put that time in. If I were going to time block anything into your brain, it is more daydream. It is more repetitive tasks that are a little bit dull. That it is more magical than we give it credit for, which is letting your mind rest, right? And what happens is it just moves stuff around different. So if you are someone that gets great ideas while you're in the tub, while you're taking a shower, maybe while you're doing the dishes, whatever, make time to do that, because it's actually your tool. And that tool is also, if you are daydreaming too much, you kind of go, oh gosh, it's so hard to get back in. So I'll give you an example. When people go on vacation for more than 10 days, you start to lose what day it is. Like if you're just gone for 4 days, you can get back into your week. But if you're gone for like 10 days, your brain has now moved into vacation mode, and now it has to come back into this real active phase. And you're like, wow, I can't even do that. And so when you're starting to think about that default mode, your brain is going to work for you, and it's going to work for you naturally. And when you are putting rest in as a tool, it really works. If you are in that mode all the time, it's really hard to get back engaged in your work. And a lot of times people go, oh, I'm jet lagged or whatever, or I have vacation brain or whatever. It is that way. The second is, this is the one that I actually have the most fights over. And this is the one that when I go, oh, let's talk about your dopamine cake. And that dopamine cake, right? There's a kinder, gentler, thoughtful, more loving way to be in the world. And if you can be that way, you'll have a better time, right? Kinder, gentler, thoughtful, more loving way. And when we start to identify, if any of you are sugar addicts, when you're like, man, I just need some candy, like I need a cookie, I need a whatever, sugar addict, right? It is a craving. It will wake you up, right? It will wake you up. It will drive you. You will be late for a meeting just so you can stop at Walgreens and get a candy, right? That you will be late. That if you have ever had that craving, it's that way. And dopamine's the same way. It will bypass to the store. And that once you understand your dopamine cake, you're also going to understand your energy suck. So this is why you do the work. This is why you do the emotional work, is right. What is there? What is it that you're actually needing? Because again, and there's a bunch of these, but I just picked out a few for you. And I have a little handout that I do for these for my leaders, which is really because these are the ones that I hit a lot, right? That I have people that love to firefight. I have people that are really focused on something, and I go, why are you so edgy on this? Right? Have you ever met somebody that they're so driven on this one subject, and you're like, what is that? And you really look at that emotional attachment. What's the emotional attachment? And if you haven't heard my conversation on what I call the kitchen countertop of life, this is where we have the kitchen countertop of life. And the kitchen countertop of life is basically, if you are a horizontal surface in my life, you should be afraid, right? Because I'm going to bring all my stuff and I'm going to, pile it on that counter, right? You should fear me. You should fear me, right? That I'm going to put a pile there, whatever. But we get used to stuff on our counter, right? We love. I got that coffee machine. I got this thing. They got to live there. They got to live there. I got to have a toaster out. I got to have all these things, right? We start to think that that's what a counter is for. And I remind people that a kitchen counter is a workspace. It's an open workspace. And we start to put in our kitchen counters our religion, our politics, our way of doing, our culture. We start to put in all this garbage and we just load up that kitchen countertop of our thought process. And we become very attached to them. We become very attached to them. If you've ever had somebody that's going to fight you to the grave on whether this team is better than that team, right? They mean it because they're very attached to that on their counter top of life. And so one of the things that I remind people is like to really pay attention to, like, what are you willing to clear off that counter so that you can have an open workspace. And when you understand that some of the things that you are attached to emotionally, that's really driving the dopamine. So when you are looking at someone who isn't driven by that, they've often done that other emotional work, that they feel satisfied, they feel validated, they feel a sense of something within themselves, so they don't have to keep grabbing that sugar, right? That sugar dopamine hit. So when you're thinking about why somebody needs something, I often go, let's look at the dopamine cake. And what is it that you're really there, right? So I see this a lot with testosterone, but it's everywhere. When you look at athletes, when you look at deal closers, right? They want that validation. They want that thrill. They want that elephant. They're going to do this big hunt. I want to be top in sales and I want to be this and I want to be that and whatever. What is it? What's the validation that they need? And that's what they're attached to, not necessarily the sale itself. And so really starting to look at that they're looking for this comparison of worth. And once you start to solve that piece with them as a leader, now we can identify the dopamine cake. Now we can fix what's really under there. And you can live just a better life, right? And when I say to people who want to live on cupcakes all the time, which is they want to live on dopamine, that there is a possibility that you actually can like fruits and vegetables, that you'll actually just enjoy them and you don't have to get up in the middle of the night to eat a cookie, and there's another way for you, that they go, oh, that's not possible. Well, it is, but it's a practice behavior. But understand the dopamine cake and start really looking at what that is. So some people really want that public recognition, and other people are like, oh, no, please, anonymously, right? So start to really understand that some people really need external validation and they really need acknowledgement. Otherwise, they're going to keep looking for that dopamine hit. So if you are someone who has employees or are leading a group, focus on when you notice that about someone, I would just go, okay, what's their dopamine cake? And really start to look at, that's also a way for you to reward them in ways that they are going to get that without having to have that sense of achievement dope. And achievement dope is real. I mean, and the younger you are, if you are someone who is under 30, man, they got it big. They are so addicted to achievement dope. It's just crazy. They're just hot on it. And so I say to them, look, I'm going to see you. I was a step parent. I am a step parent. And when we were in that step parent, they had my daughters had a mother that had a lot of guilt about leaving that family. And so the Christmas was really great at her house. And I would say to them, look, kid, I'm here every day. I love you. I don't need to be validated by buying you shit. So I'm just going to make you some toast and tell you to get to school and remind you that I love you. But I'm not going to, you're not going to pry me open for a Gucci bag because I don't have any parent guilt over you. Right. So then they go, oh, okay, I got it. And now that they're parents, they get it. They get it. And, but when they were 13, 14, 15, teenagers, that they were really going, oh gosh, Christmas is so great. And they would make this list of thousands of dollars of stuff because they thought they could get it, that they could get that reward. And they knew that that person felt compelled to do that. And so when you think about that for yourself of over gifting or being bigger or whatever, you kind of go, okay, where's the achievement dope? Is there achievement dope in there? And so the bigger kind of prosperity message of doing the work is that the more that you can fuel you as you, right? That target is always to be well within, to love, know who you are and what you have. You don't need the dopamine to get you moving. You'll move naturally. You'll move naturally because you don't have the craving. It is like a sugar craving. And that reward system of needing that reward is really powerful. And the younger group really has it in that space. If you are a flower, it's really hard to bloom with just one leaf. So I remind people that a flower is opening because it all parts of it are in harmony at the same time. So when you're growing an action plan of your life, of how do you stop being scattered all over the place, look, a flower does not bloom one petal at a time. The whole thing opens, right? It is a harmony of many things. And you are complex. You are a multi-petal, beautiful flower. And each of those will bloom. And the idea is that how do we keep you whole? And that harmony of self is where we start. Whether you're scattered in thinking at all, the goal here is to go, what is the harmony of the main stem? Right? What feeds the plant? Not how big is the flower, right? What feeds the plant? And that's where we start. That's always where we start, is that you are a multi-petaled bloom. Okay. Now, I gave you a fire hose. So let's go to what are we going to walk away with? And a linchpin, if you've ever watched an old movie where like they pull out like there's a train and I gotta just pull this one pin out and then the train separates apart. That there's just this one pin is what held that train together. That is called a linchpin. So a linchpin is when two things are connected by one pin. And a linchpin is a pro and a con. So when I look at customer service, it has to be linchpin to checkout, right? So how can we close that sale, right? So how do we serve that person for the purpose of getting them to the close of the sale? That's a linchpin process. So when you're thinking about today, I would think about, right, what are the linchpins that you have that are working? What's connected to something else that's working? It might be that your intro packet is perfect, right? This and then this. So an example of a linchpin would be an autoresponder, right? That something as simple as it came in, it automatically, hey, we got your email. Right? If you put an order online and you are looking for that instant piece, yep, the order got processed. That's a linchpin process. So if you have some of those working, note them. An FAQ linchpin process. standard operating procedure, linchpin process. So what I would think about for yourself is, if you're looking at things that need to be reworked, you're only going to pick three. You're only going to pick three. And if you're going to pick three, I would pick the three things that are going to drive your revenue or drive your sanity, right? What's going to help you feel better in doing your process, and what's going to help you drive that revenue, and drive that revenue in a way that you are there. The constant remark, again, right? What's working? What's working? Concentrate on what's working for you, what's working for you. Because whatever is already blooming, it's going to be 80 degrees for the next week here. And everybody's flowers are up. Nobody's thinking, boy, I should go cut those down. Right? Let them stand. If something is working and it's blooming, you need to let it stand, and you need to water it. So you are looking at the things that are already working and blooming. You got to water those so they can stay standing. So it's not mean ignore them. It is let them stand. Let them stand. Give them the tools that they need to stand, and then work on the other pieces. So again, you may be all four of these different versions at one time. You might be just one specific, and you may be this at different times of the day. Sometimes I'm impulsive. Sometimes I'm overcommitted. Sometimes I'm this. Sometimes it's a phase of the day. Sometimes I'm distracted. So I would think about what are the tools when you are any one of these. So when we come back together again, I would think about which one are you. And if you are a scattered thinker, one of the things that I just remind you is thanks. You are a dazzling display of many things. That people who are learning to focus because they have many things going on are often quite dazzling to know that it is pretty magic. Again, how do you move forward? You have to invest in your personal development. So whatever your revenue was last year, it's not saying, hey, I'm just going to go to yoga class, or I want some of this. It's really saying, I need development. And you want that at the very minimum to be 1% of your revenue. 2% is what I always ask for. But you have to invest something in your development, and it can be anything. So I'm going to have us come back together again. I want to hear what your takeaway is. What's your action step? And how that's working. Karen has worksheets for you. So if you be on the lookout for them. Again, you can always call me if you have a question. Okay, so we're back. Kathy, we haven't seen you. How are you? You can be the first takeaway today. Go ahead and unmute. Or is she driving? Kathy, are you with us? Okay, well, maybe she's doing another thing. Okay, Margaret, I'll go to you. What's your takeaway? You got to unmute. Perfect.
I've been working on a book called, I can't remember the name of it right now. The Procrastinator's Book of Letting Go, I think it is, and it has these archetypes of which are similar to these. And what interests me is I know that I'm several of these things.
Yeah.
But the takeaway that really helped me for today was to realize I can be them at different times. They don't have to just completely overtake my, like if I want to be, I am a wanderer. I'm a really good wanderer, but that's okay as long as it's reined in and it's used,
Yeah.
and not just let ramble. That like when I need to be focused or I need to be one of the other versions, I have to tell Wanderer it's your turn in an hour.
Yeah.
So to not, I think it's hard sometimes when you're, or at least for me, a creative person and just blah 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 blah. There are a lot of things going on, all clamoring for time and energy, and it's okay to say in your time,
Yeah, you get it.
let them all play, but they don't get to run the circus.
Yeah. Yeah. Great takeaway. Sandy, any takeaway for you?
So I was trying to figure out which of those four I am, and of course we all a little of everything. But I was thinking that my two major ones are the overcommitted multitasker and the perfectionist overthinker. So like when
Mm,
I'm writing my articles, my gosh, I mean, I spend a lot of time on them because I just keep tweaking and tweaking and tweaking, but they're always too long and I need to shorten them. And sometimes
yeah.
I'll send them over to AI and make this concise and more friendly. And then I don't like their language. So anyways, I feel like I'm a kind of perfectionist overthinker, but on my articles, but at the same time, that's what I'm putting out into the world. And lately
Right.
I changed my newsletter, changed the way I do it and how I do stories. And so I feel like that is super important how I, because I want them to want to read the article
Articulate.
the next
Absolutely.
time. Yeah. I want
Yeah.
them to think it's interesting and, entertaining. And then the multitasker, well, like I, said, I have all these things to do. And like adding Norwex, it's like, well, it's always something that I've wanted to do. I like the products, I want to share it. And I think that's like doing the little party for my girlfriends yesterday. I think that's part of my dopamine need. Like it was so much fun. I really enjoyed it. When I got
Good.
back to the office, I was working on the Norwex stuff, not the real estate stuff. But I think, real estate is very boring when you're not busy. It's only fun when you're busy with clients.
Yes.
It's like you spend all your time trying to up your game, meet new people, blah, 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 and then you get the client and then you have fun, because you're helping somebody and all this. So all that time that you're, like looking for business, so I think I needed something to interest me as far as, working,
Absolutely.
and like during the whole recession, which was 6.5 years for me, I never took on another job because I was so afraid I was going to miss some real estate thing. And, I look back and think, oh, that was kind of a mistake. I should have thrown some other things in there that I could do to make money. But it's like, well, who's going to pay me enough money, to support my
Well,
life?
right.
So anyway, so those are the things. And so what I'm taking away the most is the rule of three, focusing. And I know all these tools from being in your classes for many, many years, the time blocking, the timer, all this stuff. So just getting back to, getting to the basics and just doing what I know I need to do.
Well, and one, I think you do a really good job. And, Margaret, I think that of you as well. And I know that Kathy does that as well, that you are actually really highly put together. You actually are good at lists and following through and kind of drudging forward. And one of the things that I think that I do want to kind of give everybody permission on is that what fit for you 5 years ago isn't what's going to fit for you today because you're different. And so one of the complexities of staying focused on what you're doing is that the tools are different now, the times are different, the products may be the same, but the way you showcase and sell them is very different. So you are always going to be upgrading your systems because systems themselves upgrade. So, and a long time ago, that longer article that you didn't, that wasn't in your voice would have been okay.
Mhm.
But now you're here. So that harmony of self says, oh no, I need it to be more.
Mhm.
That it's really meaningful. This is a voice that people are going to read,
Mhm.
right? So now it has to add up emotionally, financially, spiritually, right? It has to add up a lot more. So
Mhm.
so part of the difference is that you're more complex.
Mhm.
If I've learned anything from all of these classes and all of your lives for all of these years, is that y'all are complex. There's no simple answer here, ever, ever.
Mhm.
Karen, any takeaway for you? You brought a lot of these ideas to the table. You got to unmute. We can hear you, so we can hear you.
I just want you to know that putting things on flat surfaces is genetic, Mickey.
Right.
I have, the world of Stackopolis.
Wow, Stackopolis. I'm going to take that with me.
I think that I have been all of these, and over a lifetime, you cope with some of them. But I, I like to start things, and that's part of the dopamine kick because it's new. I can put the ideas into it, but well, maybe I don't want to finish it, And but I do that to things that actually deserve to be finished, like writing,
Mhm.
things like that. Because I have work that I've done, and it starts out really good, and then you hit one little bump, and then it's goodbye. Start a new one. So I think it's really important to. I like that one where when you leave a task, you write down where you were.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as a reminder to yourself, I see a screen full of sticky notes right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that body of work actually is coming out of the University of Minnesota here. It's actually coming out of the Carlson School of Management. Now she's had 16 years of brain research on that, and it's powerful. It's really powerful on the because it attaches to the mapping section of your brain. And one of the things that she and I were talking about was the mapping that she is doing is also the same mapping that they're doing on grief. And it's very interesting how that section of your brain works. The more we do research on the brain, the more that we realize that it's what an amazing tool your brain is and how many different parts it has. So what ends up happening is you writing that note in whatever document that you're working in, or that kind of like, this has to be done, like tell Susie this, or just whatever points that you want to leave yourself, right? And you're voting for your future self. And when you put those notes in, what happens is that your brain comes back to the map because it's visually in there, right? But then it can open up that hinge back to that time in your mind. Like that's the weird hinge that they don't understand. So I'll give you an example. Did you ever have a memory that you went back to that time that you can like smell the smell of the road, or the like that like your brain just unhinges this whole thing and you can remember seventh grade or something. Sometimes you'll get that with an odor, that you'll smell something and you go, oh wow, that reminds me of this locker room of this moment, and your whole brain opens up. So it's fascinating. It's fascinating research. And going back to the grief piece, is that the brain is constantly trying to map where the people that have left us are. So sometimes people like have this place of that they're in heaven, or they're at a funeral home, or that they're somewhere out, like they have to place them in some sort of mapping organization for the brain. And people that are struggling in their grief year after year, like decades of grief for the same thing, is that the mapping, it's not settled. It's not settled. So it's interesting. It's a powerful piece of body. I think we'll see a lot more on that connection in the next 10 years.
Yeah. Well, I
Um,
think that what's really interesting is the advantages there are to that. I like that you brought out that even though you're scattered, you still have a brilliant brain. You just have
yes.
to train it to do more tricks, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think we underestimate how brilliant we are, because these are really complex lives we live. I think a lot of people underestimate uh, how much you know, how much you know. Margaret, when you went back to teach at the school, I mean, were you surprised at how much stuff you knew?
Yes, actually. Yeah, it was it just because and how much of it was just embedded reflex now. But
Yeah.
just to answer a question or something, and yes, in a
Yeah.
word, yes.
Yeah. And it's lovely to know, right? And it's lovely to know. It's lovely to know. Okay, well, do you, thanks for being here. Thanks for being here. I always love to be there. Kathy, if you choose to unmute, we'd love to see you.
Hello?
Oh, I think it's coming. Okay, we've been talking to you, but you haven't been here. How are
No,
you?
I've been here. I could not unmute it. I'm driving. So, yeah.
Good.
My takeaway was kind of like Karen with the notes, because I tend to be a perfectionist, and all those little details matter, but they also suck up so much time and energy. And sometimes it means that I don't eat dinner with my family, or I don't go to bed until 2 hours later than I should. And so leaving a note of where I'm at to kind of trigger that might be something that helps me be able to walk away and have more fun, because I'm not having enough fun and not giving myself enough playtime, where now play feels like an issue.
Yeah. Well,
That
and
was
you
my
don't,
takeaway.
and you live on a lake. I mean, fun is literally out the back door for you. Yeah.
So far away some days.
So far away. I can see that. Kathy, I'm going to ask another question. One, I agree with you on that for you personally, because that is a tool that will work really well for you, for your process, and how you organize lots of things. And I think it would give you the ticket to go, oh, okay, if I can pick up my thought process back, right? That's a small stakes win to practice. But if I can pick up my thought process and come back to it, it's easier for me to just take a break.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, because I feel like all the time I have to finish. Well, if I just keep going 10 more minutes, I'll be done. And it's not really 10 minutes, it's 2 hours.
Right. Right. And that part is great. The other thing that I think would be interesting to see for you is the three main things. I could see that being really successful for you. Do you already employ that though?
Say that one more time.
Just saying, look, these are the top 3 things I got to focus on today. Do you do a top 3 at all?
I kind of have a priority list of these are the things that have to happen throughout the week. Like, I don't give myself a day list as often as a week list, and
Yep.
I have it kind of prioritized. So yes and no.
Yeah, but a day list might really work for you, to just go, what are the 3 things that really have to get done today in all aspects of my life, right? Like, I got to get groceries, I got to get gas, I got to, you may find the top 3 very rewarding.
Okay.
As a daily. Kathy, any update for us before we say goodbye? Like, how are things? You're in the car.
Things are busy. I'm finding it challenging to the people at the shop and the previous business owners want us at the shop more than we already are. Dan's there 4 days a week. I'm there 2.5 days a week, and they don't feel that's enough. So I'm finding that challenging not to feel resentful, and kind of want to say, your business to run, it's mine, and this is the way that I need to run it. But that's not helpful, because they will stir the pot if things they
Right.
don't, if things aren't the way that they normally do it. So it's a lot of these weird things, and I know that we're in this kind of transitional period. And I'm also in desperate need of somebody who is a on-site drafter for the drafting program that we use, and I'm struggling to find a good candidate, not just on the skill level, but also on the soft skills.
Okay. Okay. Well, we'll put that out there. I feel like Margaret's brain is already working.
What
I need
what
all the
business,
brain.
what business or what kind of drafting, Kathy?
Cabinet.
Oh,
So we make custom cabinets and some furniture, but mostly cabinetry type items.
what is the name of your business?
Masselter cabinets.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Masselter, Maselter. It's up by St. Cloud is the trick.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and that's what I get a lot of. Oh.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, okay. Well, you and I should talk about that afterwards, but we should put that wish list out for everybody.
For sure.
It's good to hear you, Kathy, even if I can't see you.
I miss you guys, and I feel like I sign up for the classes and then something comes up and then I have to watch the repeat. It's not half as much fun.
No, it's not nearly as much fun as being here, right? It's not nearly as much fun, but we are glad you made time for us today.
Thank you.
It's
glad to be here.
wonderful. All right, well, have a great day, everybody. It's sunny, it's beautiful. Water your flowers. Get out there and enjoy being you. And Karen, thanks for setting it up and getting all our stuff together.
And
Yeah.
we'll get a link to a repeat for this, right? I can't write as fast as I used to.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
But it
Perfect.
usually takes her a couple days.
Oh, that's fine. I've got plenty to digest. I was just wanting to make sure that we'd get one. Thanks.
Yeah, you get the repeat. Okay. Well, Sandy, good to see you. Excited about the non-potluck potluck. All right. Have a
Okay.
great day,
Have a great
everybody.
day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.